My name is Marvin Flax. I am the Managing Director of the OBMI BVI office.
Marvin, thank you for taking the time to share some of your insights. I understand you're very familiar with some of the damage that occurred during the hurricanes, Irma specifically in the BVI. What can an architect do to help prevent damage in times of massive events like this, natural disaster?
Yeah. Well, what the BVI experience was unlike anything the Atlantic, the Caribbean has experienced. It was on a scale that none of us could really prepare for. However, there are a few things that we feel can be done or should have been done that would mitigate the amount of damage and also would make your home, and you personally as a homeowner or developer or whoever, feel more comfortable that your home or hotel or office building would fare better.
So Marvin, as people begin to rebuild and recover from this and they're looking at the structures of their homes, what things can they do now to help mitigate for future?
First thing would be to retain the services of an architect, a structural engineer, and a qualified contractor, somebody you trust. You don't want to repeat the same construction methods and mistakes that were done before the hurricane. There's strengthening tips and strengthening advice architects and engineers can give that we feel will give you a better chance, will give your home a better chance of surviving what we expect to see more hurricanes like Irma in the future.
So Marvin, as people rebuild, what tips do you have to help in the rebuilding process?
Sure. I think you really want to, there's several things. The roof structure is obviously the most vulnerable part of our home. And what we saw far too often as we did assessments and walked around properties, we saw a lot of nails on roofs. And we feel that nails are just far too weak of a material to use on a roof. It's, as we saw with hurricanes, the hurricane was just literally peeling off the galvanized roofs like a sardine can. Literally, that's how it looked in some instances. By using screws instead of nails, you're providing a better bond between, a stronger bond between the galvanized, the battens, the purlins, if you will, into your strong, heavy timber rafters. That's just sort of one potential example. Also, you minimize the spacing of your battens and your purlins. In the past, you would see anywhere from 2 to 3 feet as the spacing. I'm saying now do 18 inches. You may, obviously it's going to increase your cost because you have to now buy more wood, more lumber, but it's a small price to pay to having a little more security in your mind when a hurricane, hopefully we won't see again, but if one does come, you feel almost secure that you've done all the right things to minimize. I mean, the roof is one example. Obviously doors and windows are your other weak point, if you will, of a house. I would definitely invest in proper hurricane shutters. If you don't have hurricane shutters and you choose not to get them, then invest in hurricane rated doors and windows. Preferably sort of Miami-Dade rated. So you're gonna look for laminated 3/8 inch thick glazing, and there are a few options you can go with. You can also go with a double glaze, so you got two layers of glass, both of which are laminated. What the lamination does is that if there is a wind-borne object, 2x4, a branch, tree, and it hits it, chances are if it's coming with a certain force, it will shatter but remain in the frame.
How would you build a strong roof? Or maybe I should ask what you would have in your roof.
Well, I myself am going through the process of designing my home, and the drawings themselves are pretty much done, but we're now having to rethink a few things, in particular our roof. Having seen the destruction in the BVI, most of which is roof-related damage, what I plan to do and what I want to suggest to several of our clients is to really just minimize your overhangs. Use as little, try to minimize your openings as well. No need to have these. I mean, look, we have these amazing views in the BVI. We want to maximize them as best we can, but we also have to be responsible. So let's perhaps curtail the size of our doors and windows a bit. It's going to be a tough thing for me to do, but
not many people are going to want to hear that.
No, but these are things we're going to suggest to clients. Now, as it relates to the roof, we just feel that making sure your configuration of, particularly if you're going to have a configuration of heavy timber, rafters, steel, and concrete blocks, so forth, that configuration is done properly. Where you're using a configuration of steel, both horizontally and vertically, to keep your rafters tied down and to bond properly with the concrete, particularly your cast in place concrete, and to do it in one monolithic pour. You don't want to do the beam cast separately and then do the rafters and the steel separately. Just do it all together. That way it's one bond, one pour, and it's the strongest bond and adhesion we can have, that we feel is going to work.
So you're saying that while you're designing a home, you think about the construction techniques that are going into it.
Absolutely. Yeah, the design is obviously the first stage. You're thinking about maximizing views and how the experience your client wants to have when they're living in the space, but you have to also consider, and more importantly, after what we experience, how the home's going to withstand a Category 5 hurricane.
What are some design considerations that could help mitigating against future storms?
Sure. In the BVI, for example, we saw storm surge 20, 30 feet. Even a home that's raised is not going to survive that. So we have to be responsible and maybe saying, well, perhaps the coast is not the best place for residential. Now, as it relates to on the hillside, where the majority of the homes in the BVI are, and in the Caribbean, then we need to look at not having these sort of massive structures that are carved literally into the hillside. A lot of excavation and a lot of raw damage you're doing to a natural virgin site. Whereas you can be more responsive and have more tiered terraces and level, which is more, in my opinion, more in tune with how a home can survive and be less environmentally destructive.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.